the Community Redevelopment Agency to order. I think we'll have Pastor, or let's see, what is it, Member Bankson do the invocation for us and Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we are thankful and grateful as we see numbers going the right direction, as we fight these things that are against our nation right now. We pray that you continue to bring us to fruitful conclusions and give us wisdom. And now with these matters at hand, we ask you, Father God, for our CRA, that you'll help us to redevelop our downtown area to the benefit of all. We thank you for it. Thank you for your wisdom in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, it looks like we have all members present. Thank you, Nikki. Yep. All right. First up, need approval of the minutes as presented. Motion.
So moved.
Motion by Member Bankson.
Second.
By Member Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, public comment. Anybody from the public wish to speak? Doesn't look like we have anybody. All right, right on into new business. Jim Hitt.
Thank you, Chairman, Chairperson. It's always the formalities that get us sometimes. This is the budget meeting for the fiscal year 2020-2021. There are basically 4 items that we're looking for approvals from the CRA board in this case. I'm going to be jumping around a little bit because everything, of course, is related to our CRA, including the rest of the city. Everything is our downtown. It's focused as when we have a healthy downtown, we have a healthy city. And we got a pretty healthy downtown. Basically, all the stores are pretty much occupied, and we strive to keep it that way, getting some local and new businesses in our downtown. So the first couple items that we'll be doing the vote on, and I'll be leading up to that. We've got 2 resolutions. One carries forward the remaining funds that are in the CRA trust fund. The second one is approving the budget for the budget year, this coming budget year, and that's by a resolution, which also includes the actual budget itself. And then the third item is basically a little bit of a change to the assistance programs, one in particular, but also allowing me to make a few minor changes as we need to in order to keep these programs going. I've had some different requests that needed minor changes. One of those is actually a little bit more major change that we're going to be reviewing regarding the residential assistance program. So that being said, everybody knows the downtown CRA district. I did put together a little, and I put in front of each of you kind of a summary of the CRA, how we got here, the different resolutions that it took into account. Orange County, this is a charter county, so we do have to get Orange County to approve the plan also. The original plan, of course, was adopted back in 93, and the Orange County also had to approve this. And they actually had 3 different actions in order to designate the Apopka CRA as the governing body for that. Back in March of 2006, there was another plan that was put forth, but it was never adopted, which means that if they would have done anything with it, it would not have been legal. So, kind of in a way that, as I mentioned before, I had left in 2005 and then came back a few years ago. So they really didn't do much with that plan. And then in 2017, we adopted a new plan that we dubbed the CRA Redevelopment Plan 2017 Squiggly Line Update. And that's the one that we're working on right now. Usually the plans get updated about every 5 years, depending on what you work on. But I wanted to make sure you had all the information, and also the portion regarding another big part that's coming up is January 24th, or actually, January 24th of 2024, the CRA sunsets, which means that unless we get an extension from Orange County, we basically have to dissolve the CRA. We can actually keep the CRA, we just can't get any money from Orange County unless we get an extension. So that's something that staff will be working on to see if we can get Orange County to extend that. Right now, we receive about 95% of the ad valorem taxes from the base year, which was 1993, actually January 1994. And if we do get the extension, it's a matter of how long do we extend it for. The limitation right now is September 30th, 2039. I would look for more than likely at least another 10 years so that we can get 10 more years of redevelopment in our downtown. We've really only just got going on the major renovations and redevelopment the last couple of years. With the parking lot, we've got the trail system, which is coming up. I've also got a summary of the different assistance programs, so you can see how those are going, and then a modification with some of the residential programs so that we can get some affordable housing and some housing in our downtown that's new. We've got 2 new homes downtown that utilize the impact fee program for residential homes. And right next door to each other, and actually one of those, Less Investments, actually bought another house at 233 8th Street, and they're going to do the same thing. Then we have another group that's looking to build, I believe it's 5 homes on 10th Street, on the north side of 10th Street, which is in our CRA, and they are very modern-looking buildings. They aren't the typical older style-looking building that's kind of indicative of what we have in the downtown area. And it's kind of a new style of homes, and I like a little bit of change-up. And I think it'll be a good input for our main downtown.
What's the completion time frame on those?
They haven't started those yet.
Mm-hmm. On the 2?
Oh, those are done.
They're done, okay.
They're done. One's
And
already
the
been
others?
bought by a family with 2 kids, and the other one is on the market right now.
Awesome.
So-
What's any projection on the others on 10th?
My guess is that they will probably, once we get this change in, we were getting kind of shy on money. That's one of the things. So we were looking at a way to spread it out a little bit more and offer it to this and also Hannibal Square, which is over on 6th Street. We're looking at being able to get more money towards those. Hannibal Square is basically just waiting for this to go through, and then they'll probably be able to go through and get their development, I'm guessing, by the end of the year. It's only 24 units, so right now I'm making sure that the city council gets that information, but it's basically less than 25, so normally we would not bring that to city council, but I want to make sure that because this is a new program, that you get the information. I think it's going to be, those are townhomes over on Hannibal Square and 6th.
And are we targeting any specific area that may really help with the whole renovation that's nearer the paths, those type of things? Have we looked at that? Or is it just kind of out there for whoever?
It's out there. We are, the majority of the vacant lots are south of Main Street. So whoever comes in and wants to do that investment, they have to be owner occupied. You know, that you can get the developer to develop them, but then they would sell those. We are not looking to rent. We're looking
Right.
for ownership. That's the big key there.
I just wonder if it might be good to kind of look at it and find out where would it be really good if we could get people to invest closer to those trails. Then that's going to just cause that whole thing to just kind of
Well,
catch a momentum of
Yeah,
Sure.
And one of the things that we Joe was working on before he left, and Michael's picking up the mantle now, is we're looking at some lots down there that we had some code enforcement violations that we can put back on the market. I don't know, how many do we have, Michael? Is it?
I think there were 6 that were
6.
slated. Going over them now, there are certain issues whether we want to proceed as the code enforcement route. The difficulties in foreclosure on a code enforcement route is that 3 of the properties actually have mortgages. So any foreclosure that we do via the code enforcement route, we would actually take the property subject to the mortgage. There may be other avenues that we could look at in order to do enforcement and then find ways that we can rehabilitate the properties that way. But from my review, there are 3 properties that are free and clear. There are no mortgages that we may be with active code enforcement liens. So I need to go through the process to make sure that we perfect our code enforcement liens and before going forward to court to foreclose on foreclose on the code enforcement liens.
So we're working on it.
Any other questions?
regarding that part.
What's that, you know that old curb market over there, where they sell watermelons and stuff? Over Michael Gladden?
Yes.
Is it, are they doing anything with that?
They're in the process. They have a lease on it currently, and it's going to be kind of a lease where the person will have to lease as is and do the renovation needs to be done. And so there's some
That
gradual
was a
work.
good little location, and then they had it full and everything.
Yeah.
I like that place.
Yeah, and if, you know, we've got some of the, if you look in some of the commercial impact fee or credits that you can get as well, so there's some opportunities there for them
Yep.
from the commercial side. So yeah, it's trying to balance, you know, the commercial improvements that we can do along with the residential.
Mhm.
So, you know, trying to balance the two based on the need and the want.
That dollar store's kind of picked that area up a little bit, looks a lot better right there, I think. And then I think they're opening up a couple of more little businesses down through there, on the corner.
You try to talk in your mic.
Oh,
Steve.
the other businesses, you know, they've opened up down the road there. Look, they're working on the buildings right now. It seems like it's looking better.
Ashley did talk to, I believe it's the people that you're working on the lease with, about renovations, and they do have the opportunity to do a facade grant on the exterior and interior grant for the building code assistance, and then if there's any permits, there's a permit portion that we could help them with too.
And I think somewhere in your package, you've got some of the improvements that we've made.
Yes.
Commercial and residential, just so you know kind of where the money's
Yep.
gone. So
Yeah.
just if you want to take a look at that.
Yep.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's where I think if we kind of strategically say, you know, it would be really good, and then approach the owners, they might not really know or at least understand the opportunities that are there. It could possibly encourage that, and again, it really helped towards where we're putting that development.
At 815, Michael Gladden, I've been working with the owners there for the building, and that's actually how we got a new front door, and the windows on that building was through the grant, and they're currently doing some plumbing work, but the plumbing was extremely expensive compared to what I could help them with, so they're saving that money to go towards the air conditioning on the inside and some of the plumbing inside. But they're working real slow as they get money to get that, but that's another good indicator for Michael Gladden. And then I think once we get the trail in, which is coming up too, there's an opportunity there once, I hate to say it, but when you build it, they do come. And I think this is a good opportunity for us to highlight our downtown with the trail system. So that being said, this is just a little blurb regarding the resolutions, which I had mentioned already. That's what they look like, and there's some number changes that I've got to go through for that. The main budget right now, and obviously these are some of the things that we may end up changing the total amounts as we find where we end up needing extra money or where we have to shift monies. But right now, the wayfinding signage, which is basically our downtown signage, I've got $50,000 in there for that. Conference, that probably won't happen. So there's $1,300 that will probably go back somewhere in this whole system. We do have 6 assistance programs. The building code, we found out, we originally had that budgeted at 25 last year, and we found that it was probably one of the more popular ones because air conditioners. Those typically cost a good amount of money, but it also keeps people fresh downtown. The facade renovation is also a very popular one. The HR Block building, Jeff, I can't pronounce his last name. He's got, they're going to be putting all the windows in and repainting the building kind of a gray tone instead of that lime green. So that in itself, I think, is going to help quite a bit. He's looking to get that probably within the next 3 or 4 weeks or so. So that'll probably coincide with the completion of the parking lot, which I'll also go over. The residential impact fee, this is where we popped $200,000 in there. It had been about 20, well, actually, if somebody were to take advantage of the whole impact fee program, it was $20,451. The way the program is going to be outlined, and it'll be on a tier program based on the medium household building, and I'll go over that in a second also. Residential renovation, this one is one that we had to tweak a little bit because originally it had, there was some funding things that we're working with it. how are we going to get the money to fix up the homes? And the way we ended up working it is that if a church or a nonprofit comes in, Boy Scouts can come in. The churches had been pretty good. I believe they've gone out and actually done three different homes, but they didn't apply for any money. So the idea there is to get the word out that we do have money that can help fix a person's home up. And they would actually, the applicant would be the people doing the volunteer work or the homeowner itself. And that can be paint, windows, numbers on the house, lighting, fencing, general cleanup of the house itself. Demolition program, we originally had $100,000 in there. That's where, if we get going on some of these renovations on the downtown or lot sales, that might be a location where we put money back in, but right now I reduced that down to 25. A typical demolition could run anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000, depending on what you have to do with either the home or the dilapidated business itself. Downtown facilities, trash cans, benches, bike racks. Right now we've got that at $70,000. That goes actually very quick when you get into a program where you do want to put these facilities out in your downtown. But that's another one that we've got a little bit of play with that. State special districts fee and FRA membership, we don't really have a choice on those. We do want to stay with the membership for the FRA. They are a primary link for the legalities and keeping our legislators aware of what good work we actually can do for an FRA and for CRAs. In the special districts, that's $175, and that we don't, again, that's one we don't really have a choice on. Capital improvements, downtown trail segments, Central Avenue, and electric boxes. To put this in a nutshell, we originally had budgeted about $1.5 million for the downtown trail. That was the 2.2 circulatory 10 to 12-foot bike path. And that was as I mentioned, believe last year, that was a very roundhouse guesstimate on my part. We do have a couple different segments that do require stem walls, which eat up about half the amount for wherever that is, because you have to build it up, fill it in, anchor it. There's a few other things. But in your packet, I did put in the trail and the amount of money that we did get one of our contract companies with the city to get some cost estimates for the design and the general construction. And based on what they had sent us, we actually have enough for the majority of the trail except for Hawthorne and right now Central Ave. Central Ave already has a sidewalk, so does Hawthorne, so we're pretty well covered, but that's something that we can build on the following couple of years that we've got. It's going to run about $500,000 or so from Michael Gladden up to Alonzo Williams Park, and that's about what we get each year from the TIF, the tax increment financing from both the city and the county. And as we know with this, we end up having a little bit of money extra each year. The other part is the electric boxes. This is one of those visionary type things. Right now we have our food trucks are up at Kidline Nelson Park. That does not help our downtown or the businesses downtown as we get rolling. So one of the ideas behind what I just terming the electric boxes is put in enough amperage in electric boxes up and down Central Avenue that those food trucks can come down once a month or twice a month, or however often we can get them downtown. And instead of running generators, which is noisy, they have exhaust, they are not conducive for eating food. If we run these at each of the different tree stops and have a lockbox on them, that's where we can actually bring the food trucks down to our downtown and try and benefit our businesses that are in downtown. Talking with some of the different businesses that I've walked around and just said hi to, just to let them know we're working on our downtown along with the Fifth Street parking lot. I've mentioned, they ask typically, what can we do to get people downtown? This is one of those kind of tricks of the trade to bring people downtown. The last one on this particular list is transfers to Alonzo Williams Park. We have an opportunity for the Phase 2. There's a grant that we've applied, that we're applying for, and this is half the grant. It's a 50-50 grant. So this covers a small parking lot on Washington on the east side of the park. Also a little bit of a trail system that connects the existing park with the downtown Apopka Trail on 5th Street. Some fencing, security lighting to keep it safe again. And anyway, that's that portion. That's also part of this packet, and then I've got some other slides to go for that part too. And like I said here, any cost savings may be allocated to other projects in the CRA district with CRA approval. In other words, that's one of those things I do not want the responsibility for, of shifting monies around. I got to come to you all to make sure that we're on the up and up, I guess you could say. So project summary. This is one of the things that I've had a couple of people ask, how much did we spend on the 5th Street parking lot? I've actually talked to a couple of the property owners around the area. This is kind of it gives you the whole picture. The survey itself, we had to get the survey in order to know where we were going to build. That was $1,200. The appraisal was $800. That was so that we could actually purchase the parking lot at $260. We did not pay over the appraised price. That's a big part there. The design was done in-house by Vladimir. I think he did a wonderful job. And I actually have, I don't know if you saw this when you were coming in, that was the original plan for the parking lot in 1993. Glenn Acom and Associates were the ones that did the original plan, and it's pretty darn close. They didn't take into account the surveyed area, so we had to lose a little bit on the east side. But they did a pretty good job, and then Vladimir tweaked it a bit to get some landscaping in the trees, and we added, of course, the crosswalk going from the north to the south side, so it's between the businesses on the south and the VFW. So we're going to have a safer way to cross the road versus everybody just going across wherever they want. And then the other part is, real quick, the trees. We're actually doing out of the tree bank rather than the CRA. We've got money in the tree bank to be able to use for that, and then we're also going to be utilizing them on Central Ave too. And then the construction costs came in at just a hair over $400,000, and we've got a contingency that brings that up to about $415,000. So the total is $677,500, right around there. And the fun part, Vladimir came into my office yesterday, and I mentioned this to the mayor yesterday. They are looking to get the capstone for the trim wall, or the stem walls, within the next couple weeks, and then they'll be doing the stacked stone on the parapet portions of those, and then stucco in between. This is all within the next couple weeks. The trees should be in about 2 to 2.5 weeks. Duke Energy is probably the slow one in this whole group. They're the reason why it took as long as it did to get the pavement in there, because they had to do the underground to get to that. We actually did that. But Duke is about 3 weeks away from getting their lights in. We may or may not be able to open the parking lot up. My biggest worry is that if we open it up and the lights aren't in yet, then there's the safety issue regarding nighttime parking. There's also moving the cars so that they can actually place the poles where they need to go. So that's something that Vladimir will be coordinating with with Beasley Construction to make sure that goes in correctly. And then the other part that we did do, we've got there's a little bit of a slope on the east side towards the church and Farm City, so we actually did ADA accessible ramps on the north and the south side of the parking lot. That was something we didn't originally plan for, but you have to plan for it and give them that opportunity for accessibility. That's the parking lot. This is the part that we've got the access ramps on the north side. We also have accessible parking spaces on the north and the south. We also are going to have bike racks so that we can have bikes come downtown and park safely. Right up here, this is where the mailboxes are. That was originally in a landscape island that was kind of out there with some scraggly trees. There were originally 4 light poles that had, I believe, the equivalent of about 3 lights that actually worked. So those had to be yanked out. We had to pay for those too. And then we also have, this is the other, the southern access point coming over to Farm City. We are widening the driveway here so they can get their hay trucks in, but there is enough space to actually bypass that hay truck, which is something we didn't really know whether or not it would work, but they did make it work. Reggie Fechtel and his wife Linda own these 2 buildings here where the church is and then the Farm City, and I've met with them several times. They're talking with Beasley about fixing their parking lot up and getting a few parking spots on this side and about maybe 2 to 3 parallel parking spots along the back side of the building. And then the other part with Hall's Feed Store, we've got an access ramp here so that they can load their materials coming in and out from the building here. We've got about a 10-foot landscape buffer here that we're also going to get trees in here. And then we've got the crosswalk that's, if you've driven by 5th Street, if you haven't, go ahead and drive down. But the crosswalk curbing is all in, and it's looking good. I'm very happy with this, with the way this is turning out. Hall's Feed Store, Chris Hall did end up putting the hay truck on the side of the building. They actually have 15 feet of that alley out of about 20 foot of an alley. So there's a little bit of space on the western side that you can bypass, but you have to kind of go in the dirt, and that's the only part there. So we might end up, one of the things that we found out is that the fence, there's a little picket fence there. In order to pave that portion, we'd probably have to actually take down that big gigantic oak tree that's on that property, and nobody really wants to take down big gigantic oak trees. It's in pretty good condition other than that. So we might just leave it as a bypass and look at the dirt, maybe put in some millings or something like that to make it work better. This was just a schematic of the parking spots just to show the sizing. They're 9 by 18s with a 2-foot overhanging. This is the assistance program summary. One of the neat parts about the facade and the building code portion is that requires a 25% match. And if you look at this right here, the CRA has spent $46,000. This is since its inception since we started this in April of 2018. The applicants have spent over $20,000, which is 30%. So they're spending more than what's required. A lot of them are very, very close, but they are spending more. That's a little bit higher with the building code part because air conditioners cost more than paint. That's an easy one there. Oh, and by the way, in your packet, this, unfortunately, I had originally put that at the same number here. I forgot to tweak that and add that up, but the numbers down here are all correct. The business impact fee. This is air conditioning, things, or not air conditioning, that's the impact fee itself for water, sewer, police, fire, that kind of thing. So we reimbursed $5,000, but the applicant has spent already 12.1, and that was just one applicant. Building permit, kind of the same thing. That was not a that was a 50-50 match. And then the residential impact fee, those are the 2 applicants that were down off of Washington. So total CRA investment so far is $137,000, and the applicant is just a hair over half at $72,000. So we're doing pretty good. This is actually very indicative of a typical impact or assistance type programs. The big thing with this is that we've got 6 different programs that we're working with. That's more than most do have. And so far, I think as the word gets out, we're going to get more and more. This is the part that needs your approval. This is the residential fee, impact fee assistance program that's modified. The median home value in Orange County is $273,503. What we do is we take that amount less 25%, so it's a $68,000 reduction, and then we base it on 15% increments on 3 different levels. So the first level is up to that minimal amount, which is that $205,000. They're eligible for up to $20,000, that full amount, that $20,451. That's saying that's if they took into account both water, sewer, the school impact, recreation, police, and fire. That's all five of those items put together. The level 2 is slightly more, and they're eligible for up to 66%, which is the 13.7. And again, it's only up to that amount. It's not anymore. And then the third level brings it up from that high side to the total amount of the median home value, and that they're only eligible for up to 33%. Obviously, if it's more than that, they aren't going to get any more money. But that's how we tiered it, at least at this stage. And again, that's for a typical 2-bedroom, 1-bath. If they can get more bedrooms, then we've got something in there for that too. So one of the things that, obviously, when we put these programs together, we don't really know how they're going to work until we actually get into the weeds. So if there's minor changes to these amounts that end up coming out of this, that's where I would need that ability to change those if it's within, similar to what the administrative adjustment that we have in the land development code. If it's within 15%, that would probably work to adjust it up or down if we need to, without coming back to you for that adjustment.
Any questions?
That makes sense so far?
I like the tiered approach.
Yeah, it gives an opportunity to get to, we'll probably end up having some of the homes in this level 2, which is about what I've been seeing. And that frees up a little bit more money. Instead of everybody getting $20,451, we can spread that out over a couple different developments. And again, if we have extra money left over, I can come back to you and reapportion some of the other funds if we don't spend them into this program. I'm hoping that this takes off. We've got a couple different builders, Parthenon and Lesser Investments, that want to do this, and they're making enough money, and we're getting brand new homes for the tax base. That's the whole idea behind the CRA anyway.
Good. Nikki?
I like this approach as well. I just had a general question for the cost benefit analysis of the impact fee credits versus, what we receive with new homes. I mean, some of that is probably, you can place a dollar value on it, and some of it you just can't, just because of what it does for your community. But just wanted to get some insight and your thoughts on that.
Well, the taxes coming in from a house that's about $200,000, you're going to get about $2,000 maybe maximum, $1,700 to $2,000 or so for your taxes. That's overall that they would have to put in. So obviously over the course of 15, 20 years, you're going to get that coming in. But like you mentioned, there's other things. By having people living in a house in our downtown, hopefully they'll shop downtown. And as we get more and more stores and more restaurants, that will have definitely a benefit to our main downtown. It's keeping the visual part downtown and new homes. Even with Mr. White, I think you mentioned the dollar store. Yeah. That's the first brand new store that we've had in our downtown in 25, 30 years. And everybody said, Dollar Tree, Well, I'm sorry, it's a brand new store. It brings a tax base and it does provide a service to people. So, personally, I think that's a good thing. Yeah, they don't necessarily belong across the street from a Publix, but on the other hand, people need that type of shopping. And that was a good location. It's the best looking Dollar Tree or dollar store I think I've seen in Central Florida. So they did a good job with it, and they're keeping it neat and nice. So
Yeah.
Mr. Smith, you have any questions? You good?
Yeah, so this is applicable to single-family townhome and condominium. Obviously, a $273,000 condominium is different than a $273,000 single-family home. Is there any consideration on different tiering structure for townhome or condominium?
that's something that's one of those things that we don't know what those homes are going to be coming in at yet. If it's too much of a difference, what I will probably do is bring this back to you as to reappropriate a townhome versus a single family. You're right. A single family, you're paying for the lot. Townhomes, you've got one big lot, but there's 24 homes on the equivalent of probably 6 lots.
Yeah, because Quite honestly, $273,000 is still not more affordable for a lot of people. I mean,
Correct.
it's still fairly high. Okay.
Yeah, I was just interested. It says 5 homes at $20,451 each. Is that the limit, or?
20, yeah, well, the impact fees only max out at that $20,451.
Okay.
That's the maximum impact fees that we have. And we kept it at that primarily because if we give more than that, we don't have enough money for the other programs.
Right. Because it seems like there's 200,000 in there, and there's only, maybe I'm not understanding, there's like
Well-
20,451.
Well, if a lot of times we get a lot that already had a house on it, so they get credits for the transportation, recreation, and the sewer and the water. So you wouldn't pay that. You'd only pay the police and fire, which is the difference. So we might get a brand-new house on a lot that already had a home on it, but they'd only pay about $1,400 for the police and fire impact fees. So out of that, then they've got another 18.5 or so left over that can go towards somebody else's new house. So it goes towards just the impact fees. But yes, if they were taking into account the whole impact fee, it'd be about the equivalent of about 9 homes. But going with the tier structure, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of, and then also that there might be a home that had already gotten impact fee credits for. We could probably get at least 20, maybe 30 homes out of this one, out of that amount.
Perfect.
Because they aren't taking advantage of the full 20,000 that
Right.
is available.
Okay,
Yeah. Good one.
thank you.
One more question.
Sure.
Do we yet have any kind of a break-even number for level of service as far as the tax base? Is that something I really wanted to know?
That's a great question. I've reached out to the League of Cities. I'm like, give me a number where average services and average taxes with homestead exemption, where's that break-even point?
Right.
Nobody's given us the number. I mean, there's got to be a kind of, I know
Like,
it's.
is
could
it a
be up or down.
$250,000 home is going to pay for itself?
Yeah.
Those under it won't quite, but those over will help make up the gap. It just helps for long-term planning.
I couldn't agree more, but I can't get anybody to weigh in on that one, you know, and. if
Jamie
I were
knows.
just-
Jamie
Edward,
knows
would-
everything.
Edward, would you, she's not gonna weigh in. If I were just throwing a number out, I think 200 is probably the number below which you're subsidizing. If you talk about police and fire and all the services, you know, and parks and rec and all that, if I were just gonna pick a number, I would say 200 is where you break even. But I would love for somebody to do it, and I asked, Cyril now, I just was reappointed to the League of Mayors Board of Directors. I keep asking them that, and I don't get a good answer. But I think it's something we ought to know, because it's, it's important that we look at our budgets based on, the costs and the revenue that it generates.
Isn't there any way, even at a very rough state, at least it kind of gives us something to just divide the number of homes by how much it's producing? And, are there too many moving parts to do something like that?
You could do that. I think you'd be surprised. I think that would shock you, that number, the actual price per parcel. It's difficult. We've looked at ways, we've tried to calculate, looking at it different ways. The problem you have is there's so many different aspects in our budget. When you look at fire service, there's so many pieces and so many parts. So it's difficult in that sense. What number do you choose? Do you take the full, amount and divide that by that number? A lot of those parcels, you have to remember, a lot of those parcels are, there's all different types of, some are single family, some are vacant lots, so then you've got to figure out, does the vacant lot have the same service level? Should that police and fire be?
I would think just
proportionate
limit it
that?
to the homes and kind of start from there, and then
Homestead
business.
exemption
And you got homestead exemption, you got save our homes, you got all those pieces you'd have to look
Yeah.
at.
Yeah.
You could roughly take the budget and divide it like that. It's a big number.
Aren't there,
Commercial, we're at 25% commercial, roughly,
Yeah, like
75% residential. But
75%.
for instance, my house, so I went through, before the crash in 08, 09. So the value of my home ratcheted down, and it ratcheted down, and now it's only coming up at 3% a year. So somebody who bought in 2012 for the same exact house, their assessed value, which is what it's based on, not on the value of the house, but on the assessed value, their value that they're paying tax on is much higher than mine. So it's, even within the homestead exemptions, there are differences based on when you bought the house, because if you bought it, pre-crash, and then you went through the crash with that house, your value, your assessed value went down, but then only ratchets up at 3%. Then you've got the investor-owned homes, which we're 25, 30%, I think, somewhere around there. So they pay the full freight versus the person who's got the homestead exemptions. Then you've got there's some other exemptions on top of that, like widows, you've got veteran, so.
I would still think that those have some basic statistic man down there.
Yeah.
That we, again, some rough.
You're trying to get to a general sense of how much are they contributing and how much do they bear the burden of the services rendered.
Right.
And so in this case, if we're talking, start small, start with our CRA. If we do look within our CRA boundaries, what does the residential landscape look like? Have an inventory of every single home within our CRA, and just look at the net effect. Don't look at all the, what homestead exemptions that they might have. Just what's the net effect? The bottom line, what do we get in terms of tax revenue? What do we get in terms of utility payments from those residents? What other permits, other things in terms of revenue, net revenue that we get from those residential units? Same with commercial. So you have your revenues, and then some level of proxy, right? From proxy for fire rescue, it's how many calls do we run in that area? What's the average cost, time of an EMS call, if it's an advanced call or basic call? Police response, what's that average time based off the severity of the crime? There's proxies that we can use to have a directional kind of, story to be told with CRA. Now, Mayor point, when you extrapolate that across the entire city, there's other things that come into play, it's just, but if you start small in the CRA district, I think we can formulate some sort of picture.
And if we can crack that nut, there's obviously a huge market of people who want to know how to figure out that information.
And you can export that data from the property appraiser's site, just so the net effect, and just get the inventory of those addresses.
Absolutely, we can get the values, and we can put a number, we can get our GIS to figure out, I think we could do that, but then trying to, really get down to the details where, because then, let's say the CRA maybe has more non-homestead property versus, other areas.
Our whole budget, we're spitballing, there's such a varying.
We just take what the property appraiser tells us is gonna come in, and that's what we base our budget on.
Right, and they're not quite sure.
And I think, and it's interesting you bring that up, because I'll give you an example. As we've been building our budgets, we keep thinking, man, are we crazy? Are we on the right track? And with taxes and with sales tax and so I call a good friend of mine who I served in the legislature with, Mayor Mealer from Lake Mary, and he said, well, we don't have any problems with your budget. I said, how can that be? Man, we're struggling to make this thing work. He said, well, the difference is I've got 50% commercial. I go, we're 25% commercial. So they get no homestead exemption. The services that commercial properties need is way less than what a residential property needs. So the services are less, the income, the ad valorem taxes are greater. And so I think, and that's the number we want to try to get to. We need more commercial. We've always been thought of as a residential neighborhood for Orlando. You live here, and you play here, but you go to work there. And
Which is why we have no restaurants.
Yes. It all compounds itself. So we've got to try to build that commercial base so that we get a better mix of commercial and residential. Now, as we go forward, and you look at what COVID's done, he's also going to have a problem, because now is office space today worth as much as it was last year? Are people now working from home, Member Becker, that weren't working at home? And so now all of a sudden this office space starts to collapse. Your retail starts to collapse because, you look at the numbers of people, the businesses. I've got a list here of 25 major corporations that have filed Chapter 11. So retail space is not as valuable. And one of the numbers I saw that I think everybody should have is that for every 10% reduction in rents, so you got a shopping center and you're generating $1 million in rent a month. For every 10% loss in rent, it equates to a 12.2% reduction in ad valorem. So the next year or two, when things really start to go south, when the businesses finally just said, you know what, I'm done, I'm closed up, or office space, instead of needing 20,000 square feet of office space, I'm down to 10, now you've got 10,000 that's empty, just think about the impact. So, you know, all those things kind of add up to, you know, the situation where we've got to really be careful where we, you know, where we kind of try to look at our budgets and generating those kind of numbers, so.
And this is where Goya, Coca-Cola, and Amazon are going to help tremendously.
Right.
And we've
Yeah.
got a couple other industrial products that are going to be coming online for your approval, too.
Yeah, I mean, the movement of goods right now is, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, and we're set up nice with the industrial stuff that we've got
Yeah.
going on,
Yeah.
as well as up by the airport, so I think
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
we're positioned well.
Yeah, so, okay. All right.
This is the trail map that's in your packet. These are the main areas that, when I first started looking at where to put these trails to improve and to kind of get people looking at our downtown, Michael Gladden was my primary goal, along with 6th Street. Michael Gladden is our entrance coming in from the south from the hospital and going out. So that part right now, putting a 10 or 12-foot trail along on that northern side is going to help tremendously, because the other thing that we're looking at is doing lighting and landscaping, so that when you come in, you know you've arrived and you know you're leaving a place, and that in itself is going to help. So that's the main connector there. The other
And do we
part-
already have the right-of-way along that?
Yes,
as far
yeah, we
as
got plenty of
for-
road right away. That's the good part. The only part that we're lacking in road right away is from Alabama over to McGee. And that one, talking with the mayor, apparently, Torres is looking at some of that property there, so we should be able to get that little bit of a connector going there. But there is a steep drop-off, so that's one of those stem wall things. But that portion there is estimated to be about 90,000. It's a high amount, but it's, compared to the rest of the development, that's not bad. So the other portion is 6th Street coming in from, this is where the VFW is. We're looking to do a one-way street coming in from Central Ave down to 6th Street. And then from there, it's still two-way and two-way along Central, or Station Street also. And then from there, running it all the way to Alabama to at least start. And then the year after that, possibly this portion, and then possibly Hawthorne. Whether or not we get to Central Ave, I'm not sure. There's a lot of businesses up in this block right here, which we can't really widen the trail there because it's a sidewalk and they've already got on-street parking that backs out onto Central Ave itself. But Hawthorne does have a sidewalk. It's not in great shape, but that's the other connector that I wanted to do in order to make this loop system and connect with the West Orange Trail. But this is one of the big parts right here that I think is vital for our main downtown, is that this block right here over to Washington, that is right now dirt. So what we're looking to doing is basically putting bollards out and doing just the trail. This is on the north side of the park, which means kids. So I really wanted to try to stay away from putting a street there, because you can go around the whole park this way. But if you don't put a street there, then kids don't have to worry about crossing a street or mixing with traffic. From here over to Marvin Zanders, that part here, there appears to be enough right-of-way that we can actually go from the sidewalk to the curb itself, and then we get the cross access over to Station Street, and that gets us to the Station Street project. And then we're back on track here. And then Central Ave, if we have enough money left over to tweak that or add lighting, we're actually looking at adding lighting and trees right now. So that's our loop system to tie in with the West Orange Trail, which ties in with the cross state trail. So we can say we're directly connected to the cross state trail. And this is I actually found this drawing and tweaked a little bit with superimposed some palm trees on it. But basically, that's what we're looking at, is doing a trail on one side, sidewalk on the other, and get our downtown so that we have this ability to do a multimodal path in our whole downtown. This is the transfer portion for the Alonzo Williams Park. This is the small parking lot that I mentioned. We've already got a picnic grounds area here. This is the small trail connection, and this is where the downtown Apopka trail is also going to be located. And then, of course, it does have some decorative fencing around it, and then also security lighting. Basically, when you do a park, you want to make sure that it's safe, and the security lighting is one of those things that we want to make sure we put in there with it. A lot of bang for our buck for $100,000. So with all of that, oh, and then the other thing that I did put in your packet, there's a CRA assistance program. This is just a single fold thing that talks about the different CRA programs, and that's also tweaked to mention about the tier payments up to $20,451. If you qualify, it's got the map, it's got my contact information, and that's probably one of the big things that we've got going for our downtown is getting these residential and commercial developments going. And of course, I think a few of you went to the groundbreaking or the ribbon cutting for the axe throwing place, and then right next door, we're hoping to do something within the next couple weeks for 3 Odd Guys Brewing. So that's 2 brand new businesses right in our main downtown, right across the street from our 5th Street parking lot that also connects to the downtown Apopka Trail. So we're getting all these things are happening, and it's all within the last few years, so we're doing pretty good, I think.
Cool. All right, any other questions?
Just on the, so sorry, my pessimism is going to come out a little bit. So this is the second year in a row for, we're talking about the budget for CRA with this loop trail and stuff like that. So we're getting into that chicken or egg conversation. So what's the mindset in terms of getting this kicked off? Are we waiting for Station Street to materialize? Are we waiting for further ground to be broken in terms of by the hotel? What's the game plan?
2 parts. The parking lots, of course, that's getting pretty close to being fixed or finished.
Mm-hmm.
I've already got the outline for the bid to sell the Station Street project. That will be critiqued a little bit easier than what we did with the city center because it's basically selling it to produce a product with residential and a commercial component. That one should be ready probably January, February at the very latest to go out to bid for that.
What's taken so long on that one?
Well, it's just,
honestly, we've been saying that for the past 2 years.
It's the amount of bids that
right?
we have. We have basically 1.5 people that are doing all of our bids for us. And we did get online with Demand Star to do the bid process. So it's a matter of getting that advertised on Demand Star in order to get the project going.
And this is the challenge from where I sit, right? And it goes
Yeah.
back to the budget conversation. We keep on saying that we don't have the staff to do it, but yet this is a prime example of commercial that could come into our city to help with that tax base.
Correct. And
So-
that's not going to cost us anything. We're going to actually the city's going to make.
Case in point.
Correct. And I mentioned this before, is that, the property's a little over 3 acres. The idea is that in order to get that carrot out there is that if they come up with a product that has residential, and this is up to 50 units, along with a commercial component to bring people living downtown and shops downtown, that's where you have to have somebody that has a good track record. We would basically give them the property. That's a $900,000 appraised value. That can go directly into this product, which is going to be anywhere between probably $5 and $8 million for our downtown. That's taxes and residential and shopping. The trail itself, the hard part with that one is that we did not have anybody that could design it, and that was going out to bid. When City Council approved, I believe it's 6 different engineering firms to do design. A few of those were very adept at doing transportation design. So what we did, we took one of those and we asked them, give us the bid, give us the cost estimate on what it cost to design it and what it costs to build it. So there's two major components. So this particular company ended up getting the design, and then we would have to go out to bid for the build, but when you design it, the build part is very easy to do when you have the design already done. That was pretty indicative regarding our Fifth Street parking lot. So that's that component with the amount of money that's in there, and they said that they could actually get it designed out, the different components, probably within about a 2-month period. And then at that point, it's a 30 to 60 day bid process. So I'm looking January, February to go out to bid for the build. the
Okay,
construction
and then
part.
just last remark, and twofold. One is obviously, construction is always going to be more expensive. The longer that we wait, the more expensive it's going to become, if we don't get it done. It's just.
Correct.
And then the last piece is on that, the last piece that hits to the Apopka City Center, I heard you say it's like a $90,000 bit, but to me, it's kind of like stopping the yellow brick road in the poppy fields, right? And not going all the way to Emerald City. So why are we stopping there and not kind of reprioritizing another segment to put over there? Because that's the main thoroughfare between two critical downtown commercial corridor components.
Yep, and that's the part that if tourist comes through by January with that, we could add that on fairly easy.
So is it just due to construction not being complete yet? Okay.
Correct, correct.
Well, we'd have to buy the right-of-way as well.
Correct, yes. Now, the other thing that we could do, one of the items that I mentioned is just shifting the road south about 10 feet. But it's at Alabama, but you don't really want to do this, shift at an intersection, so that's the hard part. But we do have the road right away up to Highland, and then from there it drops down to 60 feet, from 80 to 60. But one of the designs that we did, actually this, where did I put it? One of those, I don't have it in here, it's on one of the other portions. Oh yeah, this is actually designed on actually a 50-foot road right away. So we might have to reduce the width of the road itself, which could work too. We just pop the curb down about 4.5 feet, and then you bring the road width down to about 22 feet drive width instead of 26 feet.
Any other questions? Not, we're going to look, we need 3 motions here, I think.
Wait, before you take the motion, I
Okay,
have one question in reference to the signage that you're going to do.
Wayfinding signage?
What's that?
The wayfinding signage?
Yes, whatever you want to call it.
Find your way.
There is used to be a sign at Park and 10th Street, right before you get to the Billy Dean Community Garden. All of the, it has fallen off, all this.
That can be part of
wire
that.
mesh.
That's part of this, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, we've got to design something that's going to last a lot longer than, I think that was out there for about 10, maybe 15 years at the most, but nobody was taking care of it, so
Right.
it deteriorated away.
Okay, all right.
That's part of it, yes.
Okay, as long as it's part of it, we're good.
Before we do a resolution, do you need to
Yes.
mention about that
There was-
$5,900 change?
Where did it-
It's on page 21, our Exhibit A.
Yeah, I had the numbers here, and I just got to.
The 593188 didn't get transferred over.
Yeah,
and
two
it's run over, so-
resolutions. There was some numbers for the carryover that did not carry over. That's the odd part. And the difference was 5931 and 88 cents. So both of the resolutions, Resolution 1, 01 and 02, for 01, the amount is reduced by 5931, 88, so that will go down to 2.282,490 for the total amount that's going to be carried over to this next year's budget. And then Resolution 02, that total amount also gets reduced by that 5931 for the estimated revenues. And then what I was going to do is take the 5931 out of the capital improvements, basically the streetscape portion, which was originally 2.230202. So I'll get those numbers, but it's $5,900 difference. Is that close enough? Got that?
Okay. All right, so look for a member to, motion to approve resolution number 2020-01, minus the 593188.
So moved.
We've got a motion by member Bankson,
Second.
second by member Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, resolution number 2020-02. I need a motion to approve minus the 593188.
So moved.
Got a motion by member Smith,
Second.
second by member Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, I need a motion to approve the assistant programs revisions and authorize staff to make minor changes to the programs.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nikki Williams.
Second.
Got a second by member Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you all very, very much. I'm excited for our CRA.
You guys want to roll on, or you want to take a 5 minute?
It's up to you.
He said we need a break.
Need a break? Okay, yep, okay.